Hey, my name is Ben Ibbotson and I'm a 2D animator. Today I want to show you a quick tutorial on how to use one of the principles of animation to really help your animation stand out. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit more about principles of animation before we get going. There's 12 principles of animation, firstly, and they were created by some of the original Disney animators back in the 80s. These principles are the backbone of most animations that you see today by Disney, by Pixar, by anything you see in the cinema that involves animation, explain animations, screencasts even have these principles of animation in them. And you won't necessarily know them because it's what we're always used to and we're always seeing. But if you can incorporate these into your animations, into the stuff you produce, it'll really raise your game and really raise your level. Some of the principles are stuff like arcs, easing, exaggeration, squash and stretch. All of these can be incorporated just to really lift up your level, really. And the principle of animation I want to show you today is called follow through and overlapping. So you can see in this example, when the circle rotates, the plant pot wobbles as well as the books wobbling when they settle, and all of the animation overlaps. So I'm going to show you how to do that inside of After Effects. Cool, what I've basically got in my first composition is I've got my little plant with its plant pot, which are all my green layers down here. And then I've separated these, and these are all my little books, and I've put them all different layers. And they're all just different colours just so we can see which one's which. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to block out our animation. But to do this, I'm just going to tidy things up a little bit and put each item in its own composition. So if you select them all, do Command Shift and C, it'll pre-compose it. So I'm just going to put scene 1, plant. And then I'll do these as well. Command Shift C, and do scene 1, books. So I'll just double click and dig into the books one. I can just drag all these now, select them all and drag them all so they're full length of the composition. I'll do the same with the plant. So now they're overlaying each other. So what I want to do is I want to get them to rotate around the circle. So I kind of want them to be above and below each other. So what I'm going to do to hide that is I'm going to put them all at the bottom of the composition. So a quick little cheat I can do for that is if I select all of my books and make them a parent of the circle the circle shape. So wherever I now move the circle, the books will go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the circle at the bottom of the composition. So if I open my align window and click on this little button here, and it'll align to the bottom of my composition. So now I know that that circle is right at the bottom, and I will do the same with my little plant. Align my circle to the bottom of the composition and go back to my main scene. So now they're still in the same place. So what I can now do is I can move the anchor point of my book composition to be at the bottom of the circle. So if I press Y, which is the shortcut, or you can click up here, and it basically means you can move your anchor point wherever you want it to. And then if I press Command, it'll snap to certain places and stay on certain lines. So I can snap and put it right bang in the middle at the bottom, because that's where I want to rotate from. So I'll do the same on the plants. So now if I just quickly rotate my plant part, it rotates from there. Just solo that as well, and so do my books. Cool. So I'll put them roughly where I want them again in the composition, just so it lines up nicely. So now what I can do is I'm going to rotate my plant pot 180 degrees, so it's exactly below my books. In fact, let me flip that because I want the plant pot to be on first. So now what I can do is I'm going to basically, when I say blocking in my animation, I'm going to get the circle turning first. And then once I've got the circle moving and I'm happy with that, I can then add in the secondary animation and the follow through and overlapping of the plant pot and the books toppling over. So I'm going to just put the books under the bottom. So I'm just going to colour these again just so I know which one's which. So plant pot, I'll do green. Books, I'll just do pink. So if I parents this little pick whip, if I grab that from the books and put it on the plant, now wherever I move the rotation of the plant, they'll all move. So let me go to say about 3 seconds, add a keyframe, and then let's go to 4 seconds and add another keyframe. So if I rotate that minus 180, we should have a very simple linear animation of them flipping over. So what we're going to do to get this looking right, first of all, we just want to add a little bit of anticipation, which is another principle of animation. So all I'm going to do basically is, as it turns that way, you kind of want to generate the power and like generate a bit of interest. So I'm just going to go, say, 6 frames the other way into the keyframes, and all I'm going to do is, instead of it going, obviously it's going to turn anti-clockwise, so I'm just going to add it maybe 10 degrees going clockwise, and all that will do is just add a little bit of like anticipation, and then it's going to spin around really quickly. And then obviously what I want to do now is just add a little bit of overlapping on the other side, so another 6 frames, say, and then I'll just marry it up and go another 10 degrees, so that'll be 190. So again, I'm just going to put my play field in here just so we can see it quickly. So I'm going to put B to start it and then N to finish it. So it's going to go, ooh. So obviously it looks really rugged at the minute. That's mainly because obviously it's all linear keyframes. But we're getting the basics there already. So what I'm going to quickly do just to help visualize stuff is I'm going to add just another little, so this is a white background I've got in there, just as my back plate. So I'm just going to duplicate this up by pressing Command D, and then just going to change the name to floor. So like I said before, what we want to do is just move the anchor point. If we move the anchor point to the top this time, and then if I press P on my plant, I'll know where that is on the y-axis. So if I press P here as well and do 882, that'll be in exactly, that anchor point is in exactly the same position as the plant and the books. So now if I drag that over the top, that will essentially just be our little mask that we're going to hide everything with. So there we go. That's our skeleton of the animation. So what I'm going to do, firstly, before I get any of the plants or books wobbling or overlapping, I'm just going to get this circular animation looking nice. So all I need to do is press U on the keyboard, and it brings up my keyframes. I'm going to select all my keyframes and ease them. So on a Mac, it's FN F9, but it's just F9 if you want to do it on a PC. So let's have a quick look how that looks. So that's already like smooth stuff out loads. All I'm going to do though is just slightly increase it. So change the velocity of my keyframes. So if I go into my keyframe editor down here and press this little button, it shows you that's my graph editor. So that's the speed of everything that's moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slightly change it a little bit. So I'm going to select all my keyframes, and you can right click and go to keyframe velocity, or if you press option and double click on your keyframe, it just brings the same thing up. It's just a bit quicker. I'm going to change my incoming velocity to 60%. So hopefully that will make it feel a little bit more. There we go. It's got a little bit more energy to it. It's got a bit more speed in the middle, a little bit more ease at each end. So it just generates a little bit more power, a little bit more interest as well. So generally happy with that, how that's looking now. So what I want to do now is essentially the secondary animation, which is the overlapping of the plant pot wobbling and the books wobbling and things like that. So I'll probably do the books first, just because it's a little bit more fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my book composition, and I'm going to add keyframes onto all these. But what I'm going to do first is unlink my parent to the circle, because I don't need that anymore. I'm just going to make sure my circle's bang in the middle of my composition as well, just so it matches up nicely. In fact, yeah, just so it matches up nicely. So 960. I'll do that with the plant as well, just so I know it's bang in the middle, because it was slightly out. Make my composition size the right size, because that's an odd couple of frames too big. And I believe this might be as well, yes. I have to change it as well now. Cool. So now they're all in the middle. Right, so back to my books. So what I want to do here is just add little keyframes into where they are, so they're on the same time. So if I go onto this book and press, what I've done as well is I've put all the anchor points of the books at the bottom of the book. So if you see where this rotates from, it rotates from the bottom, and it does that on them all as well. So just press R to get the rotation property up, and you can just rotate it. So I'm going to add a keyframe where the first one starts, add a keyframe where the next one is, and so on and so forth. So I've got 4 keyframes. There we go. So all I want to do with this is just marry up the same animation really that's happening in the composition above. So we want it to slightly rotate anti-clockwise. Sorry, we want it to rotate clockwise just to get a little bit of anticipation. So we'll probably just do 5 degrees. Don't worry about all these little bits because they'll get lost in the animation anyway. So when everything moves really fast, all these little imperfections aren't seen. So we'll go 5. We'll go -5, and then we'll leave it 0 and 0. So if I just easy use these keyframes again, Fn F9, and then if I option double click them, and we'll change it to 60 again on both sides. So then what we have here is just the bottom book going a little wobble. So what we want to do is we can copy these keyframes on the rotation onto all the other books. Just by Command C, and if I select them all, they'll all copy in the same place. But what that's going to do is going to make it look a little bit odd. I'll just put a little playfield in here again so we can see what's happening quicker. Let's see what's happening with the books. So they're all wobbling, but they're just wobbling in their place. So what I want to do is essentially create some kind of like parenting system, like a little bit of a bone system. And the way that we can do this is, so obviously the second book is laying on top of the first, and third is on the second, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to parent them all to the book that they're sat on. So the top book is going to be attached to that one. I'm going to follow them all the way down. So they're all attached and copying the position of the book below. Don't need to do it for the circle. So now again, if we play this back now, the difference will be massive. Because they're all following. So as the bottom book rotates, it's taking this book with it, and then that's rotating, it's taking that book with it, and it's all rotating a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So it just gives you that feel of it's like it's wobbling. So that's all looking really nice. So I'm happy. So if we can go quickly back into this, and then we'll see it all happen. So it's a bit quick. So what we probably want to do in here is just add a little bit of settling. So even though it rotates and then goes like that, it probably wouldn't go straight back to being still. If you think about how something wobbles, it kind of like overshoots and then gets a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. So I'm just going to add a few more keyframes in to the bottom one. And then we'll probably just do that many. So we'll set that at 0. So if it's gone 5, we'll probably go 4 on the plus, -3, 2, then we'll go 0. So what we can do is just copy those again, paste them on all of those. So now it should just settle a little bit. So it's a bit energetic, so I probably just want to have a little bit more space in between these, maybe a frame or 2. But it's coming along nicely. Yeah, there we go. So maybe just another one here, just so, because obviously by the time it's coming down here, it'll be slowing down because it's got less force behind it. Maybe it's this one that's a bit quick. Cool. So let's go and look at this on the actual spin of it. So it's going to spin. So there's something that looks a little bit odd. So have a quick see what I can find out what it is. It's one of those. That one feels a bit too far. I think I'm just going to change that to 1. It just feels like it's a bit too, swaying a bit too far. I know it's only 1 degree, but it will make a massive difference. Yeah, it feels a bit better. Doesn't feel. Feels like it settles a bit more. So watch it in position again. There we go. So I got that looking nice. Perfect. So now we'll just do exactly the same with the plant pot. So what we've done here, let me unparent all these. So because the leaves are obviously sat inside the plant pot, that's what we want to parent them to. So as the plant pot moves, the leaves will move as well. So what I'm going to do for this, I'm going to put the keyframe on the bottom corner of the plant pot, because then it should snap if I hold Command and Y and move it. So now if I press R, it'll move from that place there, which is really good for the, so it's like it looks like it's getting dragged behind really quickly. But obviously if I rotate the other way, it's going to go into the ground, which we don't want to do. So I'm going to add a null, which I've already got in my folder. What I'm going to do with this null, I'm going to put it in the same position, but on this thing. So to find that out, what I can do is I can move my anchor point to that corner, so it'll snap. There we go. And if I just press P, I know what the position of that is, so I can just copy that down. So 871.5.1082. So that's in the bottom corner, and I can just move my keyframe back over. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to parent my plant pot to my null, so that will be able to rotate me that way, and then that can rotate me that way. So now I've got basically two controllers to move my plant pot. So if I move my keyframes back over, like we did before with the other ones, so I can go into the plant. Let's just add a quick rotation on here, and then I can copy them across if I need to other ones. There you go. So the keyframes I'm going to be working with for now. So again, what we want to do is a slight little bit of anticipation. So as the circle will rotate clockwise, I want the plant pot to slightly go up on tilt a little bit. And then as it's coming back down, it'll, I just need to put my rotation keyframes in on this. Null. As it's coming back down, this will rotate up. I'll probably do the same. So I've done 12. Well, I might do 12, yeah. Minus 12, I believe. Yeah. And then we'll do the same where we've got a little bit of overlapping happening. So let me just add a few keyframes in here. So we'll go 12. So I'll halve this. So it'll go 6. Oops, wrong one. So now that'll go 6. There we go. Then that'll go minus 3. So what's going to happen is it's going to slightly break, but I'll fix it all in a minute. Because obviously now it's all up in the air. And then I'll just go 2, 1, 0. So 2, 1, 0, 0, 0. Okay. So let me just add a keyframe in there, and add a keyframe in there. So as the plant pot rocks up, that's fine. Then, so we've got a little bit of air time here. So what we want to do is find the middle of these keyframes. So pressing Command and the arrows here to work out how many keyframes there is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 12. So I know the 6 keyframes in the middle is the middle of the two. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to copy and paste that keyframe there, and then I'm going to copy and paste that keyframe there. So now it's going to rock up, going to rock back down to the middle, and then rock up the other side. And we just need to do that so it marries up each time, just so it doesn't end up in the air again like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So I need to put keyframe there, keyframe there. So we've gone from 12 to, that needs to now be 0. That needs to be 0, I believe. So it's going from that to back down to back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to make them 6 just so there's a middle keyframe. I believe that's 0 and that's 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just going to copy and paste them now because it's a bit easier. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put these at 4, and then 1, 2. So there's quite a lot of keyframes here, but the way I've done it, I just need to get the level. Last keyframe 0, 0, 1, 2. So now, if I just put a general easy, so Fn F9 on the Mac, that should go. Whoa. So there's something wrong there, look, so that needs to be 0. One of these needs to be 0. So it's, I believe that needs to be 0. There we go. So now it's just like it's rocking backwards and forwards quite nicely. So now if you look at our main composition again, so it's going to rock. So you see as the circle rotates that way, the plant slightly rocks. So what I want to do now is I've got basically my base keyframes in. I'm going to slightly offset them all, and that's just because as something moves, something will follow it. So say if you move your arm, your hand will move, but slightly delayed after because it's attached to the end of it. So I know these are my keyframes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly move all my keyframes 2 keyframes back. And I'll do the same on the books. Just move all of my keyframes 2 frames back. And then as well with this delay effect, I'm going to slightly just offset all of these keyframes by 1 so that they just, I'll show you what I mean. So they're all moving at the same time, which looks nice. Nothing wrong with that. But if I just offset all of these keyframes by 1, every time, you'll see a massive difference. And I do this all the time on all my keyframes. I do all my animation in a row. This is my walk cycles, my rotations, my scales, everything. If it's just parented, I'll always try and offset my keyframes as much as I can. Just give it a bit more playtime. So you see I've got such much more of a wobbly feel because everything's slightly delayed, everything's slightly after each other. So like I said before, it didn't look bad. But I just feel this looks so much better because you've got that slight delay of your keyframes. And all I've done is move them 1 frame. And you can move them 2, 3 to make it feel like it's a lot more exaggerated, which is also another little principle of animation that's amazing. Just exaggeration, doing a caricature of movements and making movements bigger than they actually are in real life to sell everything, to add energy. So that's a nice little cheeky little trick. So if we look at it now, it feels so much more wobbly, so much more energy to it. So you can't really tell the plant pot moving too much in this. But what we'll do is when it rotates back around, that's when you'll see more movement, because obviously the settling and the wobbling. So what I'm going to do is just quickly make my leaves move. So each leaf obviously is parented to the plant pot. And I put the anchor point roughly around the bottom. So these so you can see them. Roughly around the bottom of each leaf. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is just basically mirror the rotations again. So it's moving clockwise a little bit more. So do 6. We'll go -6 the other way. Oh, -8, we'll go with that. That looks a bit odd. So it rocks up. That should actually be there. And that probably needs to be in the middle. Hang on. Let me go back to this. So that's when it lands. Oh no, yeah, so that is right. Ignore me. And then we'll go back that. We need to go to this keyframe because everything's obviously offset slightly. We'll go back that way a little, but obviously not as far. So we'll go 3. We'll go -2. -2. We'll go 1. Then we'll go 0 there. And then we'll just ease all these keyframes as well. So now if I zoom out, we'll see the leaves. Oh, I'm playing back a little bit. We'll see the leaves. So again, you can't really see too much rotation because again, all the movements happen at the same time. So what I'm going to do here is just offset all of these. So I'll offset the first one, 2 frames. I'll offset the next one, 2 frames again. And I'll offset the final one 2 frames as well. And we'll see a massive difference again in the movement of the leaves. We didn't. Let me undo that. Let's work out what's happening. So they're rotating. What I'm going to do, just to sell it, I'm just going to move a few of the leaves just a bit further, just so I make it feel like it's actually being dragged back. And we'll go to the other side. Don't want to go too far with that one. Bring that one a bit further. So I think I just needed to move a little bit more, that was all. Because like 1 and 2 isn't very far. We'll go +2. Put 0 on that one, and then we'll go -1 on these. So let's just move them by 1 maybe instead. So 1, we'll move the white one first. Then the green one. And then the blue one. There we go. So now I feel like they're wobbling inside the plant pot, which is quite nice. Bit manic, but all good. So now if I go back up into here, we've nearly finished. So we've got, let me just hide. You see this little square here? That's my null that's visible. So you can either make it a guide layer by right-clicking on it and doing guide layer, and that'll put some little blue lines here, and that just means it's a guide, so you can't see it in the rendered version. It's just there to help you, or if you want to, you can just make it invisible, either or. So now it's gone, look. So there we go. So now what we want to do, so we've done this, animation is looking great. What I want to do is I want to loop it, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky because we just need to move all our keyframes at once. So I'm probably going to put this down, move all of my keyframes currently to happen at 1 second, 12 frames. So click into here. So happen at 112, but remember we want to delay everything by 2 frames, so move that there. And same with the books. Delay all that there. So let's just check everything still works okay. Need a bit longer to preview what we've got so far. Cool, everything's still looking great. So now, cool, so everything's looking great. So now what I want to do is basically just do the same rotation again. So I can copy and paste these, but it's going to copy and paste the exact values. I'll put it on 412 just so it's nice. I like working on round numbers. So obviously it's copy and paste it exactly. So we've got 0, 10, 190, 180, 0, 10, 180, 190, but we need to be 180 degrees further on. So what I can do with these keyframes selected, I can just rotate them. So it's -180. So what you'll get is it's quite difficult to try and get 180 exactly when you're clicking and screwing. So what you can do, a little keyboard shortcut, is if you press Command on a Mac, it'll slow it down. So now I've got Command down, and it just goes by increments of 0.1 instead of 1 degrees. So it's just a little bit easier to get to 180 and stay there. There we go. So now if I press play again, it's just going to do the same rotation, but just get back to the plant. And now all I need to do is copy and paste the keyframes that I've got within these compositions in the same place. So I can click into the plant. So I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy paste, select everything, copy paste, copy paste. Oops, what have I done? I've cut them. Copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And then I'm just going to offset them all again. So I can remember what they were. So it's just one keyframe every time. So one. So again, command and left arrow to move one keyframe. Now what I want to do is just move it all by 2 again, so they're not on top of the actual movement. It's just a slight delayed effect. So we'll do the same with the books. So paste them all in, so select them on paste because they're all the same values for this, so it's quite a little bit easier. Move them all by 1. Move it 1 frame. Move it 1 frame every time. So we get that delayed follow through concept happening. And then I think again, did we just move that 2 frames? 1, 2, yeah. So move it all 2 frames on. So go back to scene 1, and everything should go. There we go. So now that is looping. Cool guys, thank you very much for watching. I really enjoyed doing this tutorial for you. I'm planning on doing a few more tutorials on the principles of animation, so I'd love to hear your feedback on how these are going. And also, if you've got any suggestions of tutorials you would like me to do, that'd be amazing as well. But that's it for now. Thank you very much and have a great week.